Hey, this is Navid here from OudforGuitarists. Yesterday I was live on YouTube talking about the Radif workshop that I've got starting tomorrow. So this is the last day for enrollment. All the details are in the description below. I discussed what we're going to do in the workshop yesterday. Basically, this is going to be an overview of the Persian Radif, and it's open to all instruments, anyone who's intermediate level or above, and we're going to study key melodic developments of the Radif, using the Radif as a guide and the gushe that are in there. The gushe are these different melodies that they're non-rhythmical melodies that have been compiled back in the 19th century by Persian masters, and we're going to study the key ones, the really important ones that really show you the key melodic development that happens in Persian music. So this will be a great overview for you. And today what I want to do with you is I want to play for you a couple gushe from Avaz Abwata. Avaz Abwata is very, very similar to the Arabic maqam bayat or bayati. And Avaz Abwata has several key kind of developments in it, and I'm going to go over the names of these gushe and what they do, and I'm going to play for you Pish Daramad. A Pish Daramad is like an overture or an introduction. It's a rhythmical piece. It's kind of like Bashraf or Peshrev in Turkish and Arabic music. In fact, the word comes from Farsi. Peshrev, Pish Daramad. The word is related. And we're going to talk about the key melodies that happen in this Pish Daramad that are informed by the Radif and the melodies that you find in the Radif. So basically, the Radif can help you learn how to improvise and play authentically and also compose authentically. And you're going to see how these are interrelated. So I'm going to give you a little taste of that today, and so that you can get a taste of what we're going to do in the Radif workshop. Again, all the details are in the description below. All right, and thanks for coming. If you have any questions at any time, just put them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. All right, first things first. Now, we're going to show you the scale or the notes, the set of notes that we use in Abu Ata. We start with the tonic or shahed on G, Sol, right here. Then we have a second degree is in Farsi La Koron, or A half flat, or La Nus bemol in Arabic. So that's there. Then we have Si bemol or B flat, and then we have Si or Do. Then we have Re or D. Then we have E flat or Mi bemol. And then we have F. And then we have G. Occasionally we have an A flat as well in the higher octave when we go up there. You'll see how this plays out. There are a couple other notes that we have that are borrowed from other melodies. Actually, in Abu Ata we have another note which is Mi Nus bemol, which we sometimes use, and we use it in a very specific spot. I'll show you where that is. And so let's listen to the first gushe I want to show you in Abu Ata, Daramad. This means overture or opening, or something that came out. So here it goes. So this is the introduction of it. You can see that it used the notes in the first tetrachord of Abu Ata. Let's continue. interesting happened here. We went to have some melodies which paused on A. So these melodies here, the melodies paused on A. That's an interesting and important feature of Avaz Abu Ata, which keeps happening. Let's continue on in the melody here. So you see there's a lot of repetitive melodies that are happening on one note and then repeating the same phrase on the next note. That's a really important feature of Abu Ata. And so that's the introduction to Abu Ata. That's the main home base of Abu Ata. Now I'm going to show you another gushe which is called Hijaz. Now don't think of the Arabic maqam Hijaz here. The name of this gushe is called Hijaz, but it sounds nothing like maqam Hijaz. And the reason why we don't really know, like, well, I won't get into that, but basically listen to where this melody goes in Abu Ata, in the scale degrees. Listen carefully. This is the first part of Hijaz. Now, you see that the melody is focused on the fifth degree, really strong fifth degree. Like this. Now let's listen to the rest. So much happened there. So the first characteristic of Hijaz is this melody that focuses on the fifth degree. And eventually comes down to the first degree. Then goes back up from the first degree, hits that fifth again. And then develops further and repeats that kind of phraseology. Then we have a climactic part, which uses a modulation. We have this here. And so we modulate from E flat, or Mi bemol, to Mi nus bemol, or Mi coron, or E half flat, and we go up to G. Then we descend back down to the fifth, using the flattened A. This is the essence of gushe Hijaz in Avaz Abu Ata. So now I want to show you what that means in terms of composition, improvisation. and whatnot. So I'm going to play for you Pish Daromad in Abu Ata. This Pish Daromad is composed by Musa Marufi, Persian tar player, and this is how this one goes. Try to see where you can hear these melodies being synthesized in a composition. So let's show you how these the melodies from the Radif are informing the melodies that we're hearing in this Pish Daromad. Okay, so the beginning part went. So this, if you recall, Daromad sounded like this. So we have some melody, some reference to this here in the melody. And we have also a pattern of melodies that repeat one note from starting on, let's say, D, then starting on C, and repeating until we descend. So that was the introduction there, then keeps developing. So we can see that this melody developed exactly like the Daromad in the Radif. Started somewhere on the top end of the tetrachord and then eventually ended on the first degree. G. So that's how it informs there. Now later on in the melody, we hear this melody. This is exactly taken from Hijaz, and it is exactly in Gushe Hijaz. So it's exactly this melodic niche that we call Hijaz. We have this hitting the fifth, and then going back down to the first degree, and then we also have this pattern that goes. This very characteristic feature of Hijaz. In Gushe Hijaz, we had this melody. As we descended to the fifth, we went back to using E flat instead of E half flat. So we see that the E gets sharpened, moving towards the G on the higher octave, and it gets flattened as it moves toward the 5th degree, the Hijaz degree. So that's exactly what happens in this pish darmad. So how does this work in improvisation? Well, let's see. We'd start out in the lower tetrachord of Abu Ata. And we might have some pausing notes, some phrases that end temporarily on the A, because that was a feature of one of the gushes we played. This might be a little melody that I just made up that's in Abu Ata. End on the G. Then what could I do next? After I finish saying what I want to say, doing what I want to do, playing what I want to play, in that zone, then I might decide to move elsewhere, go into another zone. So gushe, gushe literally means corner in Farsi. These, or I translate it as niche or niche. Niche or niche. So this melodic niche or gushe takes you somewhere else. Takes you to another place where it has different features, maybe a different melody, maybe focuses on a certain degree of the scale, maybe it has a rhythmic quality to it. Different gushe or melodic niches have these different features. So that's what the gushe, the radif really is. It's a system, it's a whole collection of all these melodic niches that are compiled and have this kind of characteristic that you can recognize about them. And so that's how the radif, the study of the radif, can help you become a better improviser in Persian music and a better composer in Persian music. And you can actually learn to apply these things in your actual improvisation. So let's say I'm done playing the home bass section of Abu Ata. That's the home bass. Then I go to Hijaz. I can temporarily rest and pause on G, but I gotta go, if I want to keep continuing in the vein of Hijaz, I gotta go back to the 5th. So I can steal that melody from the radif that I played earlier. I can put that into my own melodic vocabulary. I can make that my own. I can change it or play it a different way. Maybe I can do it this way. And then I'm back on the 5th again. I can develop the melodies there. So I may do something like that. And I gotta kind of be careful not to go into like a mode in Persian music that's very similar. We've got several different modes, dashti, chord, what else, afshari, which have some similar features with shur and abu ata and all these. So they have some similar features. It's easy to bridge between them very easily. Or you could get trapped in one of them, and you may need to figure out a way to get back. It may or not be completely good practice to get too caught up and go from one to another. If you want to stay in abu ata, you gotta play abu ata the way it's got to be played. So the radif can really tell you how to play abu ata. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. So today's the last day to enroll in the Persian Radif Workshop. So check the link at the description below. It'll have all the details there. It's $99 for 8 hours of instruction. Gonna have it over 2 weekends, 2 hours each day, and we're gonna go have a nice overview of the Radif, and so you'll learn the main melodic developments that are happening in Persian music, and you'll come away with a great understanding of how Persian music works. So if there are any questions, let me know. I see a couple questions in the comments. That's great. Thanks for joining, and thanks for asking your questions. David, I am using oud strings on this, of course. This is the modified jumbush, which is just like an oud, but it's been modified to put oud strings on it, so it's got a warm sound. So yeah, it's oud strings on there. So how many types of maqam is there? Depends on what you mean. If you mean Arabic maqams or a Turkish maqam or Persian Dastgah. Dastgah is the word for maqam in Farsi. Depends on which tradition you're talking about. In Turkish music, they've developed over 100 maqams with subtle differences. But in Persian music, there are 7 systems. We call them Dastgah, and they're the main ones. And then they have sub modes on top of that. So, for example, you could call Hijaz, which I played for you earlier on, a sub mode of abu ata, or a sub maqam. It depends on how you want to look at it and what your definition of a maqam is. It varies a little bit from Persian music, Turkish music, and Arabic music. But there are many different types of maqamat in Arabic music, Turkish music, and Persian music. So it's actually very interesting to look at the differences. In Turkish music, there are lots of different maqams, and some of them have very subtle differences between them, and it's really hard to distinguish between certain maqams. Some maqams you are very limited in their scope, in that they kind of sound the same after a while, and they don't have a lot of development happening. One maqam which kind of is like that for me is maqam lami, which is a bit more rare of a maqam, and it's used very rarely, and there's not a lot of development happening in it. It's easy to go elsewhere, but there are some particular characteristics of maqam lami that make it what it is. All right, thanks so much. Thanks for joining me today. That's all I have for now. I hope to see you in the Persian Radif Workshop. Again, all the details are below. If you have a question, I'll be available by email. You can email me at support@OudforGuitarists.com. Put my email there in the chat. All right, thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye.